The post-pandemic world is entering a new age. If the pandemic has taught us anything about technology, it is this. Semiconductors are the new oil. Semiconductors, or chips as they are usually called, have a practical application in almost every aspect of our lives. We all saw this firsthand when the pandemic began. There was a huge increase in the demand for electronic goods. This put a huge strain on semiconductor supply chains, the impact of which is still visible. Now, as the world looks to diversify the semiconductor supply chain, the Modi government realized the potential of the same and launched an incentive scheme for semiconductors. It has only been a few weeks and the scheme is already starting to bear fruit. Hi and welcome. You're watching TFI English, the national socio-political analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm your host Tribhuvan, and in this video I will tell you about Vedanta Group's investment pledge as it jumps into the semiconductor race. Let's begin. Barely 2 weeks after the Narendra Modi government approved Rs 76,000 crore incentive scheme for semiconductors, industry giant Vedanta has announced that it will invest up to 60,000 crore rupees to set up a sophisticated chip and glass manufacturing ecosystem in India over the next 3 years. Vedanta Group, led by billionaire Anil Agarwal, has already laid the framework for the plant. In December 2017, Vedanta had acquired a Japanese glass substrate manufacturer named Straight from Carlyle Group, which may give company a head start. Talking about the new development, Akash Hebbar, managing director of Straight, told Times of India, "We are in the last stages of negotiations with various state governments for setting up a factory that would require between 250 acres and 400 acres. Overall investments into the project will range between $6 billion, which is roughly 45,000 crore rupees, and $8 billion, which is 60,000 crore rupees in the first two phases, following which we will carry out further assessment of the market for expansions." Vedanta, looking to set up its camp, is currently in discussion with governments in Haryana, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Telangana, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. The company believes that it could forge a joint partnership with state governments, with the latter providing some incentives. Vedanta had been in the news after its Sterlite copper plant was shut down in Tamil Nadu. Ever since the plant was closed, courtesy to the activism of some vested interest groups, India has gone from being a net exporter of the precious commodity to becoming an importer of the same. However, Vedanta, unperturbed by the unpleasant experience, is looking to bet big on the semiconductor industry. Moreover, Vedanta is not the only company to dip its toes in the emerging market. As reported by TFI, the Modi government has been in the advanced talk with Taiwan over bringing a semiconductor chip plant worth an estimated $7.5 billion to India to supply everything from 5G devices to electric cars. To smoothen the process, the two nations are on the verge of signing a free trade agreement which may antagonize China as an added bonus. Furthermore, last month, Tata Group, which recently saved Air India, announced that it is all set to invest close to $300 million in an outsourced semiconductor assembly and test plant, also known as OSAT plant. An OSAT plant sources silicon wafers from semiconductor foundries and then packages, assembles and tests them, finally turning them into finished semiconductor chips. For the same, Tata is in talks with at least 3 states, Karnataka, Telangana and Tamil Nadu. The final venue of the OSAT plant could be finalized soon, with operations expected to start by late 2022. Potential clients of Tata's OSAT business include companies such as Intel, AMD and STM Microelectronics. Of course, Tata will also source semiconductors for its own needs from this very plant, while many Indian companies will also benefit tremendously from Tata's initiative to make India independent when it comes to crucial microchips. Ever since the pandemic began, the rise in the demand for electrical equipment has led to an increase in the demand of semiconductors. Usually made of silicon, semiconductors are a strategic technological asset in today's globalized world. From car batteries to laptops, to smartphones to household applications to gaming consoles and everything in between, semiconductors perform the fulcrum of the job in powering smart electronic devices. The global semiconductor industry is valued at around $481 billion as of 2018 and is dominated by companies from South Korea, Taiwan and Japan, all of which happen to be India's friends. Semiconductors are a strategic asset, and manufacturing semiconductors is a tedious as well as arduous process. It takes months and the government of India can no longer afford to wait for such a long duration if it wants to realize that $5 trillion economy dream by 2025. Thus, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is aggressively batting for bringing semiconductor manufacturing into the country. Given the fact that India is already the second largest player after the United States as far as the software industry is concerned, an edge in hardware manufacturing would make the country a tech powerhouse.